Mark McKee for your Revelstoke Mayor Report. Good morning, Mark.
Morning, Sean. How you doing?
Good. I just wanted to make a note of your rather...
I wore it just for you.
Did you?
I wore it just for you.
The colorful shirt.
You're going to miss this shirt.
You know, I am. I have fun at the Mayor Report. And whoever is next has a responsibility to step up the game and be sarcastic yet.
And wear a nice shirt or blouse.
Exactly. Yeah. And entertaining, but still informative. That's the job of mayor.
Yeah. And doesn't necessarily have to have hair. Oh, wait.
We'll all get there at some point. So, Mark, do you have anything that you want to touch base on first?
Well, I thought I would like to congratulate all the organizing committee and all the participants for the Luna Fest. It was a great event. Thousands of people were out. It was different and unique, and it was very cool. Very cool. And if you missed it, you got to make sure and put it on your calendar for next year so that you can attend. And I also, again, I'm sure everybody's well aware that we are into election season, and just encourage people to get to know your candidates and get out and vote. There's early voting is on the 10th, and then the 17th, and then the full election is on the 20th.
Wow, they're really giving up lots of opportunities so that there's lots of rooms to vote. Yeah.
And remember, don't vote for me.
Someone's going to just write your name in.
I seriously doubt it.
So I got to say thanks, because you gave a gift card to Kirsten a long time ago she did a favor for you. Not mayorally speaking, just personally. And you gave her a gift card. We hung on to it because we were going to go, we'll wait for our birthday dinners, because hers was last weekend, mine's this weekend, and we meet in the middle and go out. And then we went to Luna. So thanks for dinner.
You're quite welcome. No, she recommended somebody to come and rent some space off of me, and I gave her a gift card for it, and I'm glad you guys used it.
Yeah.
That was very nice.
So, Mark, you ready?
I'm ready.
I wanted to have a conversation based on some of the comments that have been popping up on Revelstoke community. Not the controversial ones per se, but more about... to some degree it's about DCCs, and yet we're going to pound that nail in a little bit harder again. But is one of the issues with where we're at that 25, call it even 50 years ago, that there wasn't DCC fees or very small ones, so we never put enough money away into the savings account, and now we have more rapid growth and we can't keep up with it, but there isn't enough money in the savings account to support broken infrastructure?
Well, that's a real difficult question, and so let's talk about sewage treatment plant, because that's one of the big ticket items. So you go back 50 years ago when the community put in a sewage lagoon system, and it worked. So they went through it, and I'm sure it was difficult because everybody had to dig deep and they had to pay, and whatever way it was done. So after they've paid for a system that works, then they're on to other things, and it's water, and it's bridges, and it's roads, and it's whatever else it is. So everybody's so concerned every year about how much taxes are, how much they're going up, and where's the money going. It's real easy. I can see year after year that they say, no, we're not going to put $50,000 away this year for the eventual replacement of the sewage treatment plant because we have other priorities to do. We're trying to keep our taxes low. It's just like, okay, you've bought a house. Are you putting money aside every year now to buy another house? And for most people, the answer is no, they're not, because you're getting a car, you're raising a family, you're getting school clothes or whatever that you're doing. So it's just human nature. So, but the system that we have now with DCCs coming in that's what it's there for, is that upgrading, expanding, adding more capacity is a development cost. And who should pay for it? And we've talked about it before, and I think it's worthwhile repeating. The people that are existing, that are hooked up, have already paid for a system that works for them. Why should they pay for another system that is needed and necessary for new development coming in? That's why the development cost charge was invented, was development should pay. And
so while some people view it that it's an infrastructure that should have been maintained properly all along, if we never grew in, well, I guess we still are 7,500, you wouldn't need to replace it. We're using the sewage lagoon, for example. That's a big one that we're looking at. So if we didn't have the ski hill, let's just use that as the example. And I'm not blaming that. I'm just using it as an example. So if we didn't have the ski hill, would the sewage lagoon even really come up as an issue besides the smell?
Well, it gets down to if it's meeting the capacities are being met, you wouldn't, and it's working.
If it ain't broke, don't fix.
That's right.
Right.
That's right. So it really gets down to we're looking at expansion because of development. At some point, you may look at just straight replacement. So there's two things. There's quality and there's quantity. So quantity is a development cost charge. When you're increasing the quantity, development pays. If you're increasing the quality, and I'm talking about the quality of the processing, or let's switch over to water. If you're upgrading the quality of the drinking water, everybody pays. If you're upgrading the amount of quantity, then development pays. So and that's where it comes into what's called the municipal assist factor, and council has control over that and can say, we are going to put this much onto the user system, this much is going to go to development. And so it's all development cost charges, and there's user system. But again, and I don't want to keep going on and on because it gets more confusing, but think of it as we're expanding a system, and if we're expanding it for quantity, development should pay.
So, Mark, I wanted to talk to you about the city budgets, the 5% tax increase, and what it actually means in terms of tax dollars and how it's laid out. Because I think there might be some confusion on it's not 5% per you, me, our neighbor, your neighbor, and so on and so forth.
Well, it's a 5% increase is a 5% increase. So if you look at your tax bill, you should assume that probably 50% of it is city taxes. So the other half would be other government, school board, things like that. But so half of your tax bill is city taxes. And when council decides that we're having a 5% increase, it's a 5% increase on that half of your taxes. Now, some people are saying, well, new construction is good, and new hotel, new whatever, because it brings all these new tax dollars in. It brings in new tax dollars for the first year. Then after that, the city budget is, let's call the city budget $10 million of tax dollars. Okay, it's probably 12, but let's call it $10 million. Okay. So we set the budget of $10 million. That budget then gets divided into all the assessed values. Okay. So a new hotel comes in and it's a $4 million hotel. Well, it just becomes part of the assessment, and that $10 million budget, with any increase that council decides, then gets divided into the assessed value. So it's not $10 million. Oh, we got a hotel, we're going to make another $200,000. It doesn't work like that. We set the budget. It gets divided into all the assessments, your houses, your condos, your businesses, whatever. So, but there is a one-time bump of new construction, because when you're setting the city budget, you don't know what the new construction is going to be, what new buildings are going to be built, what is going to be added to the tax base, and you don't know when it's going to be added to the tax base.
So having, example, a new hotel is not necessarily going to change that 5% tax increase that the city is suggesting, or city staff are suggesting, to be approved.
Exactly. What it will do is it'll give you a greater assessment to divide it into. So let's put it into dollars. Okay, your house is going to go up $70. Okay, so now this hotel comes in and gets added to the assessment. Instead of it going up 70, maybe it goes up 68 or 65. I don't know. I'm just using it as a figure.
Yeah.
But so it's dividing the bill into a bigger assessment value base, and unfortunately it does get confusing, and people they think, oh well, we got a new hotel, it's going to add to, we've made a whole bunch more money in taxes. The budget doesn't change unless council decides to increase it. So we will get a bump for the first year because of new construction, But other than that, it's whatever the budget is set by council is the budget. It's not, oh, well, we budgeted 10 million, but we've got a whole bunch of new hotels, so we actually got 11 million. It doesn't work like that.
New hotels would be helpful to the Revelstoke Accommodations Association, I assume. That would be a benefit.
Well, there's always other advantages, and we didn't talk about those other things because it's the employees and it's their houses and their income and the disposable income, and it helps other businesses. There's lots of other ways that we are advantaged, but here we're just talking about city budget. But people are under the impression and falsely that, oh, we have more stuff, we're going to make way more money. Well, no, not necessarily.
I wanted to ask you about the water main that recently was upgraded, put in. Now, we didn't have any money in the savings account to cover that. Is there going to be an increase? We had to dig up dollars for that.
You're talking about the cross Deal Silhouette River crossing the water main there.
Yeah.
It was put in as a development cost charge project, and it was put in whatever 2005, 2008. I don't know when, but at the time they estimated that it would be $112,000. I don't know who estimated it. I don't, I'm not qualified to say, well, that's way out to lunch, but unfortunately it is way out to lunch because that project was on the books as, we were applying for grants and we were actually updating the DCC bylaw that was defeated. And one of the purposes of updating it is to actually come up with dollar figures that are realistic for the project. And I think that was put in $112,000, but the project is actually $2 million. We've got a
big jump.
Yeah, and I don't know what we've got in for an eventual sewage treatment plant replacement, but I think it's in the DCC bylaw at $9 million. Well, it's going to be 30 or 35 or 36 million. Those are the reasons why it should be updated on a regular basis, and it's going to be something that the next council is going to definitely have to be dealing with. So, because the water main was undermined and is now exposed, it became critical that project gets replaced. And it's being upsized because, why is it being upsized? Because development is demanding more quantity of water, kind of what we talked about a few minutes ago. That's why it qualifies for a development cost charge. So we did apply for grants like we do on every project. We were successful. We got a $972,000 grant for that project. Because the DCC bylaw was being updated, the project was put on hold to see what the outcome was going to be. The grant was extended once. We now are in a position where we have to do the project. The DCC bylaw failed. We had $112,000 in the DCC pot, which is all that we could collect for that. We've got some water reserve money that we put aside, and I don't know how much is there. We also have availability, maybe some gas tax money that we can move around. But the bottom line is we're $900,000 short, and we got to figure out where that money is going to come from. So the bottom line is that bill now rests with City Council, City Hall to figure out how it's going to get paid. And keeping in mind is that if you're not hooked onto the city water system, you do not pay into city water. You will not pay for this project. So Big Eddy, for example, they've already got their own bills to pay for their water system, which is finalizing the upgrade. But here, we as the users are going to be paying, and the only portion that's DCCable is again that $112,000. But that project was totally going to be a DCC project.
So I guess we're going to be opening our wallets a little.
Well, I'm going to be shocked if water rates don't go up in the budget for next year. They're going to have to.
Okay. Well, that covers those questions for the week, and we'll touch base with you next week.
Thanks, Sean. Take care.